or several agents are that way, and they're not showing your house, you look bad.
Absolutely.
Because now you're not even getting showings, and why? Maybe it's because we only put 2% on that side.
It's two key factors, two key numbers as we're doing, and we're gonna talk about pricing strategy in the future. But it's based on your price and based on commission, right? In the past, even if you bumped it up to 3% commission or higher, you could get some very aggressive agents. Sometimes, especially if the price was a little bit higher. Right now, commission doesn't have that same type of impact because the buyers are the ones that are driving the decisions of what's happening, right? The buyers are seeing what's online. They know if a property is priced for. The price is everything right now. When you're at the right price, you create the value. In the past, when it's low inventory market or you got just a little bit more and we're not at the prices where you're at, that commission makes a bigger difference on the selling office side. I'm not talking about on the listing office side, right? I'm talking about the selling office. But we have to educate our clients of why you want to pay a good, adequate commission, number one, to make sure that we generate as much exposure as possible, but that agent represents that buyer. Yes, you as the seller are paying them, but you want them to work very hard to make sure that transaction closes. So I've actually even changed. Remember in the past where we were always kind of leery of contingent offers coming in? Somebody's got a house to sell and a purchase. I love contingent offers now. Does anybody know why?
You're crazy.
It's part of it. Do you know why? And especially as we talk about setting proper expectations for our clients and everything else.
Because I'm thinking that somebody's trying to buy the house, they gotta sell. It's something they want. And in order for that to happen, the motivation, I think, is
motivation. You hit it on the head. Okay, so we got a contingent offer. This is our listing here, right? This is the offer that came in. They're selling that property here. Okay, so we know we're paying out 2.5%. Let's say on 600,000. It's right. Does anybody know the quick math? We should know that on 600,000. It's about what six times 2 is 12, 15, and then another half. Yeah, 15K. Okay. Now they sell this, even if they're discounting it or doing whatever they're doing here, you're saying at a minimum when they're selling this property, you're probably looking at another $10,000. This agent is the most motivated agent that you're going to have out of any non-contingent offer, anything happening of putting it all together. You have the most motivated agent on the other side. And we're paying this commission, which is a lot of commission, but they're making this commission as well.
Plus, yeah.
So contingent offers, contingent agents with the right agent, and I gotta really emphasize that, we are interviewing that agent who's writing the offer on the buying side. So if you're working with buyers, remember this because this is key and this is what we worked on at the Wood Branch office all the time. I said about 50% of the equation is the buyer, their strengths. The other 50% is the agent. That agent is key. You work with the right agents, you're going to close your transaction because they are good leaders, they're good communicators, they're problem solvers, they know how to speak. We got an issue, let's figure this out. We're going to talk together. It's all communication. It's all those things. So I want that contingent offer. Obviously, we get a non-contingent and a contingent, and both agents are equal and everything's good. I'm going to weigh the pros and the cons, and we're going to go with that contingent. But the other positive thing with the non-contingent, I don't want to get into the MLS and those details again too. I'm flipping it to pending status. A lot of people say, no, it's contingent. Right. We're going to do it as active under contract. I'm flipping it to pending status. If it doesn't work out, and this is the other thing that we got to get into on the contingency, I think it's on, I'm trying to remember if it's the COP or the SPRP. The contingency on purchase form, read it, know that inside and out. There's basically ways that when you have it in escrow, there's the delayed right to notify, and there's the immediate right to notify. So one of the boxes, when it's checked, or if it's not checked and it's all left blank, even though I've taken that contingent offer, I can still sell the property. And then if I get another backup offer, I can present that backup offer to that particular, to my seller. Seller sees it, they see it's a better offer, whatever the case. Now we give 3 days to that contingent offer to remove all contingencies, and they have to be able to finance, which most can't. Most have to sell the home in order to purchase the next. It gives you a way out of the contract. So you put it in pending status at a quicker time. You're still able to advertise and still try to find. It's going to show it if you have it in pending status as in escrow, so it's not as likely. But it just gives you another approach. And again, the biggest killer is the days on market. So my goal is to try to put that into escrow quick. And again, this guy's the most motivated guy or girl, is the most motivated person who's going to try to sell their home and get it done and do the things they need to do. Because if they can't, you're going to be able to get out and sell it to somebody else if you need to. So that's a very important form to really master that COP, especially at the bottom of that. And we can talk about that in the future as well. Okay, so just wanted to touch on it. So let's get back to the pre-qual and the crazy reasons why I'm looking at contingent offers as opposed to the non-contingent offers. Actually, we went through all of this. Any feedback from the feelings or the thoughts of how that conversation went? Did it seem natural? Did it seem forced? Did it seem scripted? Or I guess, Pete, how did you feel when I was asking you the questions?
Yeah, something that I feel good asking, to try to, get better idea of what situation that seller is, if it's a seller.
Right.
Maybe going off a little bit, but the issues that I have is because most of the time for me it's referrals.
Right.
Okay. But like when I do open houses, I get leads.
Right.
Those are the ones that are hard for me to convert.
Right.
And
welcome to the club. But.
Yeah. but I think trying to filter them out it's a challenge on that part.
For the open houses.
For the open houses.
I'll share one quick thing with it if you guys are comfortable with it about open houses. The one approach, and Russ does a great job if you haven't done the peak agent training. He teaches about open houses, and he's got a way to get where you can get every single person to sign up, put their information in, do everything that you need to do, and get a list. And I've done it, and I've gotten 20 to 25 names, phone numbers, all the information by doing it his way. Not gonna say that it's not my way, but it isn't. I have my own way of doing it, and the one thing that I found is when I keep it simple, my focus is about finding one person to connect with.
Yeah,
an open house.
at least one.
I personally don't try to ask them to sign it, because what I've found in the past is when I do that, and even though I can pretty much force and make it happen where everybody fills in their information, the wall is up. Again, the tension is there. Most people don't like being forced to do anything of that, so it hurts my chances at connecting with them. So what I'm going to focus on is, as I'm showing them through the house, I'm asking questions, I'm connecting, I'm working on that, but I'm looking for one good person instead of 10 or 15 or whatever, one person to connect with. And when I keep my focus on that and having a good connection, and then at the end, I still have my sign-in sheet, still have everything ready to go. They're like, oh, can I put my information here? Now that's a good quality contact.
Yeah.
So that's the one big change, but I always feel you have to give in order to get. So, and that was one thing I learned from a top agent who dominated CME for a long time, big on open houses, and his thing was, you gotta be the expert, right, of the area. You gotta give good quality information. And if you give good quality information, they're gonna see the value in working with you. You're gonna connect more, and they're gonna be like, okay, this person knows their stuff. I met a bunch of people today, but this is the one that stood out because they brought up these things about HOA. So they brought up these things about this community that there's no way I would have ever known anything about this particular community unless this area expert brought these things up. So just shifting the focus and just focusing on one good contact. And there's an agent I was coaching, when she did that, tell me, she started she's like, no, it's just one. All I'm looking for is one now. And she's changed that approach and has done a lot of business out there. She's the gal that I was telling you that went to 270,000 September to September. That was one of the big changes. But it was the same question that came up. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Not sure what's happening with this, what's going on with these leads. I meet them, they give their information, now they don't pick up the phone, right? Now they don't call, they don't do it. Well, you're not the only one feeling it. I feel it all the time too. So once I kind of shifted it back, and then the last weekend went to my old way, and sure enough, there was one that I connect with. But I get this, we write an offer, I send it to him, haven't heard anything since then. This is gonna double in that property, yeah, and it's been 4 days.
You wrote an offer for them?
Wrote an offer,
they
great offer.
They never even responded?
Supposed to have
oh my
yeah,
gosh.
50% cash.
And they told
down.
you to go ahead and write the offer and then nothing?
We called that night,
bizarre.
he didn't pick up. The next morning I called Danielle, my wife hears the conversation. And it's very specific, earnest money, we're going through the whole thing. He's gonna send me proof of funds, he's gonna send me his lender's contact information, called 2 or 3 times later that day, couple hours, nothing. Then days go, and right after we talked, because my seller was ready to do a price reduction, right after we talked, I told my seller, hold off, it sounds like this one's gonna be coming in. So it's already changed his expectations, and now the offer never came in.
So call the lender
it's-
up and see if he can get a hold
But
of
he never got that contact information.
No, never got
He
that.
never got that back.
Never sent that back. But I got his address. I haven't knocked his door yet. Got his address, his name, his phone number, email, and that's what I'm saying. The connection was there at the place. We met.
You
He
just never
fills in
know.
all the
You
information.
never know.
We talked the next day.
Yeah,
He's
right.
ready to write. Right.
Yeah.
All I'm
But,
saying
so that's
is,
the thing, because you don't know where they went. Another open house. Maybe
Right.
maybe they can't.
Could've
Connected
got
with,
cold
with
feet.
somebody else.
something could have happened. I shared it with my dad. My dad, and
Yeah.
he was like, you know what? Usually on that last conversation, just try to be as sincere and humble as possible, and just leave it. That look,
Yeah.
hey, I'm not sure if something happened, with you or anything's going on. Feel free to call me when you're ready to, and just leave it at that. I'm not gonna call
Right.
again because I don't want to bother you or bug you.
Mhm.
But when you're ready or you need help, reach out to me. And I still got to do that, but that's what he recommended that I do. I was like, really? Come on, 3
Yeah,
days
you gotta
later.
keep what you really wanna say, don't say it.
I was close a couple times, right?
Yeah, and you can look at it as you have a little more practice on the whole thing, it's like a dry run.
Well, let's do a practice run, kind of like we did last time, and just pair up. Each person get a person, and let's go through the questions and practice it. And then, and it's a small enough group that we should be able to reconnect afterwards. But try to do it one time each with the other person.
We'll go this direction and,
Yeah, okay.
Whoops, sorry.
which one do you wanna do?
So.
Okay, I'll ask the question.
The seller?
First time around? Sounds good. So is this this is a.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, give Alex, I was thinking your name first, Alex. I'm Melody. Yeah, I always forget my name. Okay, ring, ring, ring.
Yes, hello.
Hi, Alex.
Yes.
Alex, it's Melody.
Hey.
Century 21 Everest. I was calling to just reconfirm our appointment for Monday at 4 o'clock. Is that still gonna work for you?
Yeah, that still works.
Okay, good. And is your wife gonna be able to
Are you
be
trying
there?
to?
Yes,
She
she will.
can be
She'll
there,
be
okay,
there.
because if not, I was gonna say, we can readjust the time, but good, we'll keep it for 4.
Yeah, she'll be there.
And before
Meeting.
I get over there and meet you guys, do you have a minute? I can ask you a few
That's
questions
great.
right now?
Sure.
Now, tell
Okay.
me again, when are you
So
going,
if what I say makes, when I come on Monday at 4, if what I say makes sense, and you're feeling
Oh, yeah,
comfortable
where,
and
sorry.
confident,
So
ready
where-
to sell your
where are you
home,
going
are you
to?
planning on listing your home with me when I come out on Monday at 6?
Okay.
You know what,
Possibly.
possibly, yeah. I mean, if everything sounds good, my wife's okay with it, I'll see what
Sounds good, okay.
Yeah.
Are you planning to interview
As
more
a
than just one
professional real
agent?
estate, I study.
You know what,
advice
I'm
every
not,
day.
my wife
Therefore,
mentioned
I
that,
inform
she was referred to another agent, but I haven't talked to her or anything.
Okay, so maybe you might talk to another one or two, alright.
Totally understand that.
And tell me again, why are you
As
guys
a
gonna move?
professional real estate.
Well,
I study
we're
advice
moving
every day.
because of a job
Therefore, as
transfer.
you
Oh, okay, so one of you is
at
getting
the
transferred,
price
you or your
that will
wife?
cause your
Actually,
home
both
to
of us.
sell.
Both of you are going, okay, good deal.
Correct.
How soon do you have to be there? Since it's a job, I would assume you've
what
got
price-
a pretty tight schedule
when
you've
you
got to
go,
follow.
Yes,
Okay.
actually, yeah, we need to be there by the end of
What's
next
your
month.
timeframe? How soon are you
Okay,
gonna,
so-
be there?
You wanna sell pretty
February.
quick. You wanna sell pretty quick.
We're
then.
hoping we
Okay,
will.
alright. When I see you, how much do you think,
Okay.
when I see you, how much do you wanna list
So
the home
when I
for?
see
You
you-
guys have
Uh,
prices?
600.
Okay,
Yeah,
600.
600.
How much do you want?
And as a professional real estate agent, I study homes and prices every day. Therefore, I assume you'll list with me at a price that will cause your home to sell, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I need to
As
sell
long
it.
as we can get it sold, okay.
Yeah, they went
So
up.
what price, have you guys discussed what price you won't go below?
Have you thought about selling it yourself?
Well, you're a professional real
575.
estate agent.
575 be your
I
lowest,
study
okay.
homes and prices.
Well, I
every
think we can get
day.
you more, but I'll know more after I see it.
Okay.
You know, I think I can help.
How
you,
much do you owe
You
on
have-
property?
advise you,
100,000.
and we can talk
Okay,
about
100,000,
that.
so you've got some equity. That's nice, good.
Or
Have
do
you ever
want,
thought about selling it yourself?
Cash
How
out.
much do you want?
I did, but I don't have time for that, so.
Okay. And will you help finance the home for the buyer, or do you wanna cash out?
I need to cash out.
And then cash out,
okay.
Okay. Would you please, could you please describe your home for me?
Yeah,
Tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's a 4+2, 2-story. We did some remodeling to it about 5 years ago. We remodeled the kitchen, the bathroom, so I think it's mostly ready.
You think it's ready to go? Sounds like it is. I'm excited to see it. And I'll be sending over a package of information. I'll be sending over a package of information. Will you take a few moments and review it before I get over there on Monday?
Sure, what's in that package?
The flooring?
It's kind of a pre-listed presentation for you to look over.
How about the windows?
I'm assuming that's what it is. We didn't go over that, is it? Are you giving them a
I didn't hear
plan?
that last part.
I just said it today.
No, but I wanna know,
Oh,
are we
about
giving
what you're
them,
giving?
yeah, are we giving them like
Yeah,
a
so what's in that
pre-listing
package?
package? Is that what it is?
What is it?
Is that what we're giving them?
Pre-listed
A
package.
pre-listing package,
Kind
so
of,
it can,
overall of what we're gonna go over.
it can be the contract, it can be disclosures, there's a few things that Mike Ferry has on his pre-listing package. And we'll talk about some of it, but.
Because I forgot to ask, because when you guys went through that, I thought, oh, I wanna ask, what is it you guys recommend we do?
It's in the description too.
Oh, okay, I'll look at that, yeah, I just got that yesterday, so I haven't even looked. Do you have any questions before I arrive?
Yeah, we can show you, by going with
Our commission, is commission gonna be a big factor on if you list your home with me?
Well, we wanna take the most money
And
possible.
I could show
Of
you the
course,
back.
I understand
of
that.
the house with us and
Can
to
we
get
go over
top
that when
dollar in the
I'm
house.
sitting face to face with you and your wife, would you be okay with
Other than
that?
commission.
I assure you it'll be a fair
Why-
commission. Fair commission, and I'll go over it with you when we see each other.
Sounds good.
Okay, so you know our meeting should take only, our meeting should only take 5 to 25 minutes, is that gonna be okay? Wanna come out on Monday?
Of going to work.
Great, I look forward then to seeing you Monday.
Okay.
See you then.
See you then.
Other than commission, when you list
So
with
what, how did you feel, just based on how she
Alright,
asked the
so
questions,
we've
what's
got
your
a
feedback
schedule
for?
for.
I mean, it's good, she asked all the questions, she went, every question.
I gotta get familiar, yeah.
But how did it sound? Did it sound like it was the first time? Did it sound natural? Did it sound?
I mean, it sounds.
It's the first time.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't sound bad for being our first time, because it was great.
Yeah, we
Because,
heard these.
all it is just reading them pretty
Right,
much, so.
right.
But the more you practice them,
The more
the
you
better it's
practice,
gonna
yes,
sound.
you gotta make it sound like, I don't want it to sound like I'm reading. I know you said, sometimes though, you can say to them, do you mind if I just read a few things to you? These are the questions I wanna ask. But I prefer not to do it that way. I'd rather know it and not know I'm reading.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what I'll have a sheet of paper sometimes, or just something
That you
separate
can
with
insert.
questions in case I need to pull them out.
Okay.
Sometimes I don't even need to, right? The conversation is good, but if
Just
it
go.
does get to the
conversation
point,
goes.
if it gets to a point where it's like, I know there's something I should be asking, pull it out, say, I've prepared these questions for you, actually, I wanna make sure I ask you these things before we get to it.
Okay.
And it's not,
Just in case one, you feel like, God, there was another one I should have asked.
well, I know, we wanted to do it where both people got to do it, but let's, if we can, say, real quick, do you guys mind if we wrap up real quick?
Go right ahead, yeah.
And then if you guys wanna flip it afterwards, you guys are welcome to do it. I highly recommend that you try to practice and role play
Get
these.
familiar.
Some people are better at writing the questions out, some will record themselves so they can listen to it in the car or working out or whatever it is, and they listen to it over and over until it becomes second nature. How did it feel, just doing it for the first time? Was it uncomfortable, was it?
A little uncomfortable.
A little uncomfortable? Shit, that's awesome.
I think if you were familiar with it though, I could see
Yeah,
it
you're
flowing,
familiar, but
yeah. It would flow if you got it down.
Right.
Cause then it
She's
won't
ready to
sound like
sell
you're
Pete.
trying to read it. Oh.
Practice is a good thing.
Yeah, it is, with anything.
That's good. Yeah, so the practice is important. From what I could hear, I heard a lot of, just surprisingly, the tonality was great. The voice, so much is in how you speak and what you say. It's not exactly the words of what you're saying. The words actually say is about 7% of the whole thing. More of it is on body language, so if you're seeing them face to face, and then your tone and your voice is critical. So the cool thing is that even if you're going through and just reading through this, you're still to the other side. They don't necessarily always know that you're reading through it, but you sound prepared and that you're going through it in doing it. So to take some pressure off, you can do it. I highly recommend making it where this stuff like the back of your hand so you can pivot. Because what happens a lot of times, it's not 1, 2, 3, and you're going all the way down. They're gonna hit you with something or share something that you're gonna ask another follow-up question based on that. So the biggest recommendation, and I heard you do it on one situation, Pete, she said that she was gonna upgrade everything. And you're like, what is everything? Tell me what everything is, right? That's, but
Did
what,
you say that?
right?
You were talking to her like your wife. If you wouldn't have said that to a stranger. What is everything?
But it's a great follow-up question. It's about digging deeper.
Right.
What we do on here is we're focused on the next question. We're not truly listening to everything because we're more focused on
Right,
not
that's
trying
true.
to sound like we don't know the next question. So that's why it's important to get it. But more than anything, it's important to dig deep. And if you saw earlier when we did the presentation, that first question, look at how much information. We never went to question 2.
Right.
And it actually answered like 2 through 6, right? And that
Just
was all at the
talking, yeah.
first. It is. So when you know these questions, you know what information you're supposed to get in terms of motivation, timing, right? How serious are they about selling their house? When we ask them bottom line, I don't ask every single one of these questions in every conversation, but I have them all available and I'll add some. The one that's not on here is if you're interviewing other agents. My next follow-up, if you want to write it in, are you planning to interview more than one agent for the job of selling your home? And I picked this up from a Mike Ferry Superstar Retreat.
Wait, which one are you on?
Number two.
Where are you
The
planning
next
to
question I
interview?
asked her, what are your expectations in the agent that you look to hire? Which you saw it on the 22 questions, but the timing is perfect right after they say we're gonna interview a couple other agents.
Right.
You repeat and affirm, you confirm that that's a great idea, this is a very important decision, however you wanna say it. Let me ask you, what are you looking for in the agent that you look to hire? I'm telling you, as simple as that question sounds, is one of the game changers for my listing presentation. Huge, because they will tell you exactly what they're looking for. The ones that I found kind of funny in the past is a guy who does quite a bit in sales. I asked him that question. He's like, I want you to sell the house, get the home sold, right? Like, don't ask me all these other questions. And probably driver personality, right, in that situation. But he went straight to the point. That was like others in the past is, we're very warm people. We want somebody who's warm when people come in. Again, more amiable personality, right? More feelings. That's more common in terms of what I'll get in response. But don't be surprised if they say, I just want to get the home sold. Can you sell the home? Yes, I can. Okay, let's get started. Let's go to what we need to do.
I want to sell this.
Right.
And you're as cheap as possible.
Right. So, and then you're gonna find out that question, once they give you that information, when you get down to isolating the objection at the end, going for the close, that's gonna be very helpful for you. It helps you tailor your entire presentation is what are your expectations in the agent that you look to hire. Yes, ma'am.
No, I was,
Okay. I saw that out of my corner. Anything else that you saw or any feedback for the other person? Yes, sir.
Oh, as far as so when you get to that question, when you see how much you want to list your home for, in the past, when they give you a price,
right?
I usually don't go to number 6. I just skip to number 7.
That could be good.
Because because I already have a price in mind. So instead of going, as a professional real estate agent, selling homes, blah, 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 blah,
right?
I just go, okay, well, with that price in mind, so what price won't you go below?
Right.
Just kind of like skip it, because I feel that.
And it's trust, and the more that you have this thing
if they
mastered,
say, well, I don't know, you're the expert. Okay, yeah, as a professional real estate agent, I study homes and price every day.
Beautiful.
Boom, therefore I assume you'll list with me.
What if they give you a high price? Like they're
well, that's what then the next question be like, okay, well, with that price in mind, what's the price you won't go below?
Right. It could, and they may not give you that what they won't go below, right? They may not give you that
I'm not
number.
gonna tell you. I'm not gonna say that right
Yeah, they could say, I want to hear you. That's why I want to meet you in person to get a better idea to see what your price is, and that's okay. The key important thing to ask, one, is not to be afraid to ask for the price.
True.
Because we could be afraid that they may say too high of a number. Now it's like, oh my gosh, now I got this impossible price. They're gonna think I'm the bad person because I need to bring them into reality. These are some of the sound bites and the things that you'll say on a regular basis. Look, I'm not gonna tell you what you want to hear just to get your listing, right? Many people will do that. They're gonna tell you what you want to hear. They're gonna tell you a price that you can't get. They're gonna tell you a commission that you think is an amazing deal or amazing opportunity just to get your listing. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be that guy, right? I'm gonna tell you exactly what you need to hear to get your home sold, to get you to wherever it is that you're trying to get to next. whatever that next step is. And so that's gonna come up at least once, if not twice, during that presentation, because if somebody's going to hire me, they're gonna know that I'm gonna tell you the good, bad, and the ugly, and that's what you want to hear to help you get to what it is that you wanna do. That also is a differentiator, from ourselves to the competition. It's just being very clear and just saying, look, show them the track record, show them the list price versus sold price. We get almost 100%. Showing average days on market. We do it in this period of time because our clients follow my pricing strategy, right, to do it. So another key point off of price, if they go too high or they're not willing to do it, somebody's asked me the question about how can you guarantee it? Well, if they follow your lead, then you can guarantee they're gonna get the results that they look for. So that's in regards to pricing and in terms of those things. But what you'll pleasantly be surprised, what I was surprised once I started asking the price question, is that there are people out there that are realistic in terms of their pricing. And they may say a number that is so much better than what you were even anticipating that they were gonna start up here, up towards this. And I have one just recently, so I know 550 is a fair value, that's good. And with his updates and everything, he may be able to push close to 6, could potentially. But is it worth the risk of sitting on the market, losing opportunities, doing these things? He's fair in his price, which is much more likely to get appraised, much more likely to get the results and to do those things.
And possibly, I always say, I don't feel we can go too low, because too low is gonna bring you multiple offers.
That's
If
exactly
it's
right.
too low, what happens? Everyone's gonna come running over, oh my God, and they're gonna start bidding against each other. It's gonna bring it right back up.
That's
And I always have to
explaining the
go,
pricing
oh yeah,
strategy.
that's true, huh? I go, yeah, it's not gonna sit there. You're gonna get a ton of offers.
That's exactly right. So, and the way to say it is, as long as the market hits the market and is on for at least 72 hours, 3 full days, it's been fully exposed to the market if it's been on the market for at least 3 days. Now, if you sell it before it hits the market, there's a chance you're underselling the property.
Mm-hmm.
If it goes onto the MLS and it's put out at the right commission, at least 2.5% commission on the selling office, we did all the things we were supposed to do and we exposed it, then you can't undersell the property. And that is another thing to show them, to get them away. If you heard earlier, he wanted to start high and work his way down, which is very common.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to find the best way, depending on that particular client, to get them to see that that's a costly mistake that could cost you tens of thousands of dollars listing too high. It's also a costly mistake hiring an agent just strictly based on commission, right? That could cost extreme. And then if they come back to you 6 months from now, after they listed with somebody else, right? 6 months times 30 is 180 days on the market. How do you think it is for me to try to sell that home now that you come to me after it shows 180 days on the market, right? Even though you were overpriced, horrible pictures, and we're doing the right price and right pictures, what's the average buyer gonna think? It kills you. It kills you. Something wrong with the property. It's got a negative stigma. So you get one crack to make that right first impression. But these are things that should come up in the listing presentation. Should be in the conversation at some point. Where they start saying, oh, we're looking at this person, or we're gonna talk to these people, that's when you're isolating and focusing on the close. And we're gonna work on that too. Coming up is just being more specific in the close, how we close and how we do it. Sound good?
Yes.
Okay, I know we're already past the hour mark here, so yeah, just if you guys want to do another run, great. If you don't, it's all good. We've already done the hour. Any questions just in terms of the pre-qual? Just try to emphasize how important it is. It's big, and again, you don't need to. If this feels unnatural, word it the way that you want to. That feels natural to you. Because I know for myself, I don't ask that first question.
Wait, on number 10,
Personally, I don't, and I still, get
For number
the results
10, I
I'm
was-
looking
You're
for.
still asking a different way.
I was a little
Right.
confused. Will you help finance the home? Are you talking about seller financing on that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a different question.
Yeah.
And that's that one as well as selling it yourself, right?
Right.
But what you'll be surprised is there are for sale by owners out there who are interviewing 20 agents just to get all their pricing strategies, information, everything
True.
else. They have no intention of listing with you, exactly. So
Yeah, they get
it's
info from
good.
us, huh?
And then what the natural response should be, no, not at all. This isn't what I do. That's why I'm talking to you. Now they're reselling themselves on you of why you should be working there. But I've heard questions about that, also the cash out of the refinance.
Mm-hmm.
You also asked a question about the package, pre-listing
Right,
package.
right.
Has anybody done that before?
I've left a presentation and gave it to him and walked away and just said, I'll see you in a day.
Yeah, and how did that work out?
It worked out good because when I get there, they already had questions like, oh, I saw this. It was one of the ones when we first started with, it was Troop, I think, Troop's presentation, and they had it in a little binder thing.
Yeah.
So I made up several,
okay.
and then when I go to one, I'd give it to them a day early. I'm gonna drop by the presentation, go through it, and so when I see you on our appointment, you've already gone through it, you have questions, and we'll go through it again if you'd like. And usually when I get there, they'd be like, oh yeah, we looked at it, we're good. And then we would just walk through the house, have conversation, and they were like, already saw everything I'm gonna do for them.
Right, what do we sign?
Yeah, it was almost easier leaving them that, because they have time to go through it.
Well,
Yeah, exactly, so
Right.
you want a list?
Yeah.
So you've heard of the pre-listing, you've done some Mike Ferry stuff, right? Have you gone to the seminars where they do the pre-listing presentation?
Yeah.
And what have you heard as being in the pre-listing presentation?
Well, just, I usually, when they do ask that, I just say, the package just has some information about our company.
Uh-huh.
What I'm gonna do to get your home sold, the listing
Or
plan of
some
action,
marketing.
Right.
some disclosures,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and the listing agreement.
So those are common, and then some will actually put the listing agreement in there.
Oh, I didn't do that.
Already have it pre-filled out, ready to go, commission, price,
Oh.
everything. That's actually the
The
way
net
Mike
sheet.
Ferry says.
Really?
Shows the net sheet,
net
shows
sheet.
everything on there. What I've heard John share with me is he leaves price out because price is typically something that needs to be discussed in person, right?
Yeah.
And so what has happened though, if you do everything, you fill it all out, sometimes people have shown up and literally they don't even want to talk to you, hand the package back, here you go, completed, ready to go.
Yeah.
Paperwork's there. So I've kind of changed. I personally have not done the pre-listing package where I drop it off ahead of time. What I have done is a toolkit CMA, which is what I use for the listing presentation. And on the toolkit CMA, if you have their email, you can email it to them before you get
Oh, that's a
there.
good idea.
And then it shows you when they open it. So it tells you, okay, they looked at
They've
your
seen it, yeah.
listing presentation, they see it ahead of time, don't be afraid to share it. Because then you're gonna get a bunch of information about our company. And you're also gonna see ideas in terms of internet buyers, how that works, how to advertise, how to market. So when we get together, you've already seen all that, now we can focus, what is it that you want? What is it that you're looking for specifically? What questions do you have for me? You hear everything about our company and our exposure, so it makes it a lot easier in terms of getting to that point. But my focus personally has been more on getting as much info as I can over the phone. Asking as many questions, get as much info as we can, and then once I have that, it's usually a pretty good presentation. And if I haven't gotten enough, then I'm getting more while we're there, connecting the dots, sharing it with them. Last thing that I'll finish with just before, just different approaches. Not sure if you've done it this way or not, but has anybody heard of a 2-part listing appointment? Or two different parts?
Well, I have heard of where, yes, I have heard of that, where you go and you do your presentation and then you set up the time to come back one more time.
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't Troop doing that, I think it was Hometown. Were you guys with Hometown?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they say something about that, go back the second time? And I always thought that was weird, but go ahead and tell us.
It's all case by case,
Yeah.
okay? So one of the important things to remember from